Offense is indecent behavior with a juvenile under the age of 13. Sentencing date is 10/13/2013. Sentenced to 20 years hard labor, first 2 years without benefit of probation, parole, or suspension of sentence. Pro date is 4/23/2020. Good time is not eligible. Full term is 8/26/2033. Is this information correct, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Wise.
Okay, Mr. Sanders, can you hear me well?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Sanders, I sat on your case last time, and one of the things we did, we granted you to you complete all 4 phases of sex offender program. And you to your 3rd phase right now, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Your full term date is 2033. You understand that?
Yes, sir.
And I don't care if you stay here to 2033, you're going to complete all 4 phases of sex offender program. I just want you to know that. So don't try to shine it off and thinking this, that, and other. I said on your case, somebody else may want to vote different. But today, my vote is going to be to grant to you complete all 4 phases of your sex offender program. I mean, this is a rescind. We had to come back to it. And I want you to complete them programs. And you are, and that is going to be my vote today. I want to just tell you right up front, you have to complete those programs.
Yes, sir.
I don't have any other questions.
Mr. Roche?
I have one question, Mr. Sanders. When was your last disciplinary write-up?
I've never had one, sir.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Teresa?
There are no further questions at this time. Mr. Sanders, you may now make a brief statement before the board vote.
I understand what I've done was wrong, and I understand the apprehensiveness of this board, and I was not able to say this last time because I was not part of this hearing. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to prove that I'm no longer the person that I was. I have absolutely no problem with completing the 4th phase of this program. I should have 5 weeks left. I should finish it on July the 28th. I have absolutely no problem finishing that. I just want to say thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sanders. Is the panel ready to vote? Mr. Wise?
At this time, I'm going to vote to grant you upon completion of all 4 phases of your sex offender treatment program. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Mrs. Jackson? You're muted, Mrs. Jackson. You're muted.
All right, Mr. Sanders, likewise, I'm going to vote to grant upon completion of all 4 phases of sex offender treatment.
Mr. Sanders, I was a part of your last panel, even though you were not there, and I voted to grant you also. I will likewise do that today upon completion of the 4th phase of the sex offender treatment. After release, you'll have a curfew from 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. You'll have to comply with all provisions of the sex offender contract that you will be signing upon release. And I want you to report to your parole officer the first 4 weeks on a weekly basis. Because you're a sex offender, I'm not going to give you any community service because often that involves minors, and that will be a restriction for you. So the only conditions you'll have is a curfew, 9 to 6, comply with all provisions of your sex offender contract, and report to your parole officer weekly for the first 4 weeks. Good luck.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Reese, does that complete our business?
Yes, sir.
And we are at,
Okay, before I go any ranting and raving, we're going to do two things. One is we're going to go back into the past to 8/19/2020. Remember, this hearing took place June 22nd, 2021. So going back to the hearing that they spoke about, the review only where he's not present. I haven't seen it yet, but Richard, who does all the magic and researching this stuff, connected the dots. So thank you. And then we'll unpack it. And we also have the court transcript that goes into the details of what he did in case they don't get into that, which they often don't. With that, let's jump in. And also, this is, I don't know if I just said it already, but they were doing these hearings a lot in 2020 with COVID. They wouldn't have the inmate come, so they would go and interview the inmate and then talk about
Okay,
it.
Mr. Roche, this is the case for Robert Sanders. It is a board review case. His DOC number is 613008. Here in support today, we have his sister, Miss Elizabeth Mulligan. She'd like to speak on his behalf. We have his father, Mr. Ralph Sanders, also who would like to make a brief statement. And pastor friend Billy Martin also asked to make a brief statement. And that's everyone.
okay. Thank you, Ms. Leah. If I allow all three to speak, they'll have between 2 and 3 minutes apiece. And I will call in the order of the father, the sister, and then the clergyman. Good morning. This is the case of Robert Sanders. Robert is a first felony offender. His offense is indecent behavior with a juvenile under the age of 13. He was sentenced on 10/13/13. He received a 20-year sentence. The first 2 years of that sentence without benefit of probation, parole, or suspension in sentence. His parole date was 4/23/20. He is not eligible for good time, and his full term date is 8/26/33. This case has been assigned to Mrs. Pearl Wise. Mrs. Wise.
Thank you. I had the opportunity to interview Mr. Sanders, and in accordance with the questionnaire, he indicated that on August the 28th of 2020, it will be 7 years he has been incarcerated. We talked about his Tiger, and he has a low Tiger score. This is his first hearing. As the program, he indicated that he's taken everything that was available to him at his facility. As to substance abuse, he indicated that his drug use started at age 17 when he enrolled at Louisiana Tech, where he was majoring in chemical engineering. In his words, lost myself, drinking marijuana, went to work, could not pass a drug test, went to synthetic marijuana, meth, and pills. Got so bad, I did not care about my personal hygiene. He indicated that he has not had any DOC approved substance abuse program treatments. He states that he hadn't completed the sex offender treatment, but he informed me that the detention center has a sex offender treatment class that is in its 3rd week, and they are meeting for 1 hour a week. And the course is set to take 1 year for phases up to the first 3 phases. And then in phase 4, you get to serve as a facilitator. He did have the Louisiana, his programs are listed there. He did have the Louisiana Risk Management, which is a substance abuse program. He had anger management. And as he said, he'd taken everything that was available to him. As to mental health, he indicated that He did have a mental health evaluation while he was in Winfield, and he was told that he was okay. Physical, he has no, he's in good health. Job history, we discussed the many levels of support that was received. And he said he does plumbing for the facility where he is now. I asked him about being a paid trustee that was indicated in one of the letters that we received. And he explained that he does European scud mount at the prison, and he get a percentage of the ones that he complete. But as a trustee working as a plumber, he said he's not compensated for that. He's just like another inmate. We talked about the community opposition in terms of the DA and the judge, and we talked about victim opposition and the victim's anxiety and struggles that the victim is dealing with. He states that in terms of his release plans, he said that he has $5,000 just sitting there that his grandfather left him, and that will help him get started. He stated that his parents has purchased him a camper, and he gave the address in Winsboro. He said it's down the road from his parents' house, and he also gave him his parents' address, and all that's in the record. In terms of employment, he indicated he has several leads. His father has built a diesel mechanic shop at his house, and the two will work there. And he also got a lead with R&L Construction Company in Winsboro. As to transportation, he said there'll be no problem. His parents have 4 vehicles amongst them, and he mentioned the one that he believed his parents would put him in. Again, as the mental and medical and mental, he said none. Support groups, he voiced his intent to attend Chain Breakers in Winsboro. They meet weekly, and it's a great resource. And him and I were not clear as if children are allowed at Chain Breakers, making him aware as a sex offender, he can't be around children. We talked about his goals. He indicated that he wants to short-term get back established, stable, and back in church. His words, the community got my back. Make sure I don't get back into drugs. Long-term is to get my own house out of the camper, in business with my father, and become a contributing member of society. When I asked him about his 1 year, 2 year, and 5 year goals, he indicated it's 1 year to have a permanent residence out of that camper, healthy relationships with everyone around him, and active in his church and in Chain Breakers. In 2 years, have his business up and off the ground, and he wants to volunteer with veterans or a charity. In 5 years, he said, I've tried not to look that far into the future. He believes that will be risky, but he wants to avoid a relapse. Community and family support, he said he has, he stated several times during the interview that his entire community is behind him. His church family is behind him. He said several times, I have full support of my community. And we talked about the many letters that was in his packet. He was concerned that the letters did not get in, and I assured him that we received the letters. And each panel member have an opportunity to review those letters. I read the question to him. Do you think there will be a potential victims issue if you are released to your proposed plan? And he said, no. I take full responsibility, no excuses, no legitimate reason. Stupid, kid, bad decision. I pray everything turns out and she finds a way to overcome my actions. He seemed to cry on the phone when he was speaking of this. He also indicated that he don't have any issues with the victim, and he believes that she lives in Rayville, and he also stated that he had heard that the victim did not really want him in jail. As to barriers, so we talked about COVID-19, him being a sex offender, and he acknowledged staying clean and sober and stay in a support group. And again, he indicated he has full support of his family to overcome any barriers. I asked him if he wanted to make a statement to the board, and his statement is as follows. If I had not been in jail, I would be dead by now. He stated that he had guns and knives in his face. When asked, was it a drug deal? He said, yes, that's why. He shared that at one time he was going 75 miles an hour down the road, and hit a ditch, and he was unharmed. And he stated, that did not shake me. He states, getting this jail sentence. He indicated he was 20 years old when he got arrested, and now he's age 29. And he realized there are bigger things in his life, and this has made him grow up. We talked about his life from age 17 to 20, and he acknowledged it was extreme drug use. And he repeated that he got to the point where he didn't even care about his own personal hygiene. He recognized that there is some family history of alcoholism, and he needs to stay vigilant if he's going to stay clean and sober. That is my report.
Thank you, Ms. Wise, for that very thorough report. Ms. Wise, did you discuss the offense, and is he aware that because he was convicted of indecent behavior with a minor under the age of 13, it would be a lifetime registration?
I did not discuss that with him. And I don't think he's as aware but I did talk with him about his responsibility as a sex offender is to make sure he never is in a situation where he cannot prove he didn't do it. I explained to him because he's excited about getting back to church, and that's kind of a high-risk environment. I gave him that example. If you're in the hallway and you see kids, you get out the hallway. If you look around and there was kids around, you need to move. It's your responsibility to move. We did talk about that.
Yeah, but he has a lifetime obligation because of the age of the victim.
And I did not tell him that.
Okay. Mr. Wise.
I don't have any questions. Mr. Pearl done a great report there, real thorough. Went over a lot of stuff there. I'll wait to the decision.
Thank you, Mr. Wise. I'm going to start in the order of Mr. Ralph Sanders, the father, Miss Elizabeth Milliken, the sister, and then we're going to go to Pastor Billy Martin. Mr. Sanders, would you unmute your mic? Mr. Ralph Sanders, would you unmute your mic? Would you please give us, it's muted again. Okay, would you give your full name and your relationship to Robert?
Ralph B. Sanders, and I'm Robert's father.
Okay, give us your statement.
I'd just like to thank y'all for giving us an opportunity to speak for my son. And our deepest sympathy and regrets for the victim and the family. We try to pray for them regular. First, Robert, and she stated this in hers, Robert has a vehicle of his own and a place to stay of his own, and he does have a job with R&L Construction. Robert has a long list of family and friends that want to help him to re-enter society and be of support to him. I think that he can be a great asset to this community. Robert's matured and become an adult during his incarceration. He's overcome a lot of things. Robert has never, ever been a malicious or evil person, and he never had intentions of hurting anyone. He made a bad decision and a bad mistake, and I think he's paid for those decisions and mistakes. He had no prior record coming into this of wrongdoings, and he's not been in trouble since he has been incarcerated. But upon Robert's release, we would have access to the AA-NA meetings and chain breakers. And there is no children allowed in the meeting rooms. And I go there every Friday night and do some of the speaking myself. But I would just love to have the opportunity to mentor my son in the mechanic field and the welding field. But most of all, I'd just love to be able to mentor him in a walk with our Savior, Jesus Christ. And that's the end of my statement, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sanders. Would you please mute your mic? Miss Elizabeth, would you unmute your mic?
Yes, sir.
Would you give us your full name and your relationship to Robert?
My name is Elizabeth Mulligan, and Robert is my baby brother.
Okay, let's have your statement.
I want to, with my dad, just again, thank you guys for the opportunity for us to speak on his behalf. And I just want to apologize for being emotional while I'm trying to speak. I want to start by letting you guys kind of know where we are as a family. The last couple of years I've spent working at an elementary school with special needs children and children who have learning disabilities. And I've personally been involved in cases like this and have had to call social services myself. And I have two daughters who are ages 10 and 12. And by the way, they've been fasting. Both of them have been fasting this week for this hearing, but we fully understand the seriousness and the severity of the charges that he's been serving time for. And we are not, I want to express it, we are not the type of family who would speak in favor of his release if we did not fully believe that he is not the same person and that he would never, ever, ever repeat this offense. Robert stated to me on many occasions, as she says, Ms. Wise said, that, you know, he's thankful for this prison time. It sobered him up. It's, you know, kind of been a reality check. And he's said many times, you know, jail is not the place for me. He was running with the wrong crowd, doing a lot of drugs, and he had no right thinking in him. And he was just making terrible decisions when this whole situation happened. And he's used this time to grow as much as possible. You know, we all change as we age, but Robert has made it a specific point to change his life and to move out of those things. And I remember one day he called after class. He's taking these classes and he was just so excited. It was a class about how to change your thinking and that you could break the cycle, you know, and he was just so overjoyed at that knowledge, and he took it and he internalized it. And I've just seen so much growth in him over these 7 years. And especially in the last 2, we lost our grandparents a month apart from one another to lung cancer, you know, at the same time. They had a large part in mine and my brother's raising. And that was just a really hard blow for us all, but especially for myself and my brother. And I feel like he just reached that point where you realize, you know, oh, geez, this is not going to last forever. And I only have one life to live. He tells me all the time, Liz, I just want to get out and go home and live for God, try to make a modest living and spend time with what time we have left with our family, with our mom and dad, and maybe do a little fishing in the boat that my grandfather left him. We know, and he knows what he did was wrong. He was being reckless and irresponsible, and we don't make any excuses for it. That's not an excuse. It was still wrong. But we just ask that you consider today how remorseful he is, how much he's changed. And honestly, our family just needs him home. He has become the strength of our family, and that is how much he has changed. And it's with great confidence with all of the knowledge I have of children and this whole situation that I can say, if you find it in your hearts today to grant him parole or grant him parole as he finishes the sex offender class, that you will never see his face again or hear his name again. And again, I just say thank you for this opportunity. And we respect the decision that you make today because we know that it's not an easy one. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mulligan. And first of all, I'd like to thank you for your service as a special ed teacher. It takes a special person My mother-in-law was one, and it takes a very special person. Thank you. Pastor Billy Martin, would you please unmute your mic?
Hello?
Yes.
Hello?
Pastor Martin, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Would you please give us your full name and your relationship to Robert?
Billy R. Martin, friend and pastor.
Give us your statement.
I've known Robert all his life. I feel like that the structure that Robert's going to get if he gets released is what's going to help him the most, with his mom and his dad and his sister, and his church family, people that's going to help him come back into society and be part of it. And I feel like doing that Robert can correct everything that's happened to him. I don't feel like he would go back into it, because it's a strong support group that's going to be there to help him. He's an intelligent young man, and he just made a bad mistake, but we're asking for forgiveness for the mistake. We're looking forward to trying to help him if he gets released. Thank you.
Thank you, Pastor Martin. Is the panel ready to vote?
I recommend we go into executive session to discuss confidential matters related to this case.
Mr. Wise, do we get
I second.
We have a Is the panel ready to vote?
Yes,
Mrs. Pearl Wise.
Mr. Sanders has been a trustee at the facility. He had no DBs in the 7 years that he's been down. But I want to acknowledge that there is some law enforcement opposition once again. And I want to acknowledge the many letters of support that he had. He is above average when it comes to community support. He's above average when it comes to a transition plan. So I am willing to take a chance on Mr. Sanders. My vote is to grant his parole after he completes the the sex offender treatment program at the facility. It has to be done within 9 months. If it's not done within 9 months, they will notify us and we'll make some decisions at that. Once he is released on parole, I want him to be evaluated by our substance abuse clinic and let them tell him what he needs to do to stay clean and sober. I would like for him to do 2 AA or NA meetings a week. He can do them on Zoom and give his parole officer some kind of notation as to what was discussed at the meeting. I would like probation parole to also do random drug screens during the time. He's going to be on parole for quite a while. Random drug screens while he's on supervision. That is my vote.
Mr. Wise?
Well, when I first initially looked at this case and I went over this case, I've noticed he has a lot of opposition against this case. The thing that I see different in this case, Mr. Ralph is going to be working. I see his sisters here, and Mr. Martin, the pastor, is going to be here and going to be doing things with him. My first initial vote would be to deny his parole because of this case and some of the things. But I think he's young enough, he's smart enough, he's got family support. And I'm telling y'all this, I'm telling the family, and I want to put it on one of his conditions. No contact with the victim, period, or victim's family. I'm going to vote to grant the same as Ms. Pearl Wise. I'm just telling you, the family, Brother Martin, and everything, y'all changed my mind because of strong family support. I'm just telling you that.
Thank you, Mr. Wise. I am going against the grain, and I'm going to agree with my two colleagues. And I'm going to vote to grant. And these are the conditions before release. He must complete 100 hours pre-release. That is a pre-release program. He must complete all four phases of the sex offender treatment program. He must not have any disciplinary write-ups during that time. After release, he'll have a curfew from 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. He should not have any contact with the victim or the victim's family. He's to attend NAAA meetings at least twice a week. Until he can attend in person, he can do it by Zoom technology. He must have a substance abuse evaluation and follow up on all recommendations. And he is to be randomly drug screened at the discretion of his parole officer. Mr. Sanders has received 3 votes to grant his request after completing 100 hours pre-release in all 4 phases of the sex offender treatment program. That is the decision of the panel. This completes this hearing.
Okay, so let's go into the court record so we can know exactly what it is that he did before we then unpack this. And I think it always adds context to knowing what he did because none of that was touched on in this thorough hearing. So on July 18, 2012, the defendant was charged with the bill of information of aggravated sexual assault. So she was 12 years old. He was 21, not 20, as Ms. Wise reported. With the plea agreement in the state, the defendant pled guilty to 1 count of indecent behavior. He took a plea deal. Now, I do want to say that given a 20-year sentence is remarkable for Louisiana. We don't see 20-year sentences for grandfathers that do things to biological grandchildren at the age of 3. I mean, 20 years is remarkable. Eligible for parole after 2 years, which is also quite interesting, 20 years, but that was part of their plea deal. Now, according to the arrest report that on June 17, 2012, HL's mother, Latricia, went to the Franklin Parish Sheriff's Office to file a complaint. Southern alleged that HL and HL's friend had gone swimming with a group of friends at Big Creek on June 13, 2012. It was there that they met the 21-year-old defendant. And HL and the defendant exchanged phone numbers. So a 21-year-old is hitting on 12-year-old girls. They exchanged phone numbers. That evening, the two communicated with each other via text messages. And at approximately 1 a.m. on June 14th, so they're real quick movers, this guy's a real quick mover, the defendant picked up HL and her friend at a location near HL's home. The defendant drove the girls to Big Creek, and the defendant asked the girls if they would like to go skinny dipping. HL's friend, can you imagine finding out that your 12-year-old daughter sneaks out of the house at 1 a.m. picked up by a 21-year-old man. And by the way, this man is 6'2", 250 pounds. Let that sink in. HL's friend declined, thank goodness, but HL agreed. Like this could have been even worse if you can imagine. Like this is just than it was. I mean, this could have turned into. But the defendant removed his clothes and HL removed hers with the exception of her underwear. After complaining that the water was too cold, the defendant and HL got out of the water. The defendant began to kiss her, placed his hands inside her underwear, and touched her. HL stated that she wanted to leave, and they traveled to Davis Park. The defendant ordered HL's friend out of his truck. HL then performed oral on the defendant. While he touched her down there. She's 12. After the defendant dropped the girls off at HL's house at approximately 4:45 a.m. After the incident occurred, HL's mother discovered the text messages between HL and the defendant on HL's cell phone. HL later told her father what had occurred. 12. On June 26, 2013, in accordance with the plea agreement, the defendant appeared in court to plead guilty to one count of indecent behavior of a child under the age of 13. The plea agreement did not include an agreement regarding the defendant's sentence. Before accepting the defendant's guilty plea, the trial court advised him of his Boykin rights. Boykin, Alabama. Boykin versus Alabama. It's interesting. It's interesting that they do a reference from even like 1969. I always think these things are how you can take precedences from years that are so, but that's the law for you. It's fascinating, but okay. So include agreement regarding the defendant's sentence. Before accepting the defendant's guilty plea, the trial court advised him of his Boykin rights. The defendant waived his rights. The trial court, would you guys be interested if I went into this stuff more? Like if I were to Google this and then find out exactly what they're talking about, let me know. The defendant waived his rights. The trial court also informed the defendant of the applicable penalty for the crime of indecent behavior with a juvenile. And he probably thought he was going to get a little slap on the wrist. I mean, I am shocked of a 20-year sentence. Because it's just, we just don't see that in Louisiana. For indecent behavior, I mean, he probably thought he was going to get probation. The state then recited the following factual basis of the defendant's plea, with the defendant did not dispute. I would just say for the record, Your Honor, that on the date of the offense, the defendant engaged in lewd and lascivious. I know the word. It's funny because I know the word, but when I read it, it's all of a sudden different. Acts of a sexual nature, including oral and fondling with the victim, who was 12 years old at the time. Thereafter, the trial court accepted the defendant's plea and a pre-sentence investigation report was ordered. The defendant's sentence hearing was set for August 28, 2013. On August 23, 2014, the defendant's counsel filed a motion to continue the reset and sentencing hearing, stating that he needed additional time to prepare for the hearing after receiving the pre-sentence investigation report. The motion was denied. I guess he was trying to just buy more time. I'm assuming he bailed out and did not want to go to jail. On prison. On August 28, 2013, the defendant's sentence hearing was conducted. Again, the defendant's counsel argued for motion of continuance. He argued that he had not had enough time to prepare for the sentence hearing after receiving several letters written by HL's health care providers regarding the impact of the defendant's crime. Further, he argued the defendant was entitled to cross-examine of HL's health care providers regarding their evaluation because the text messages between defendant and HL contain information inconsistent with their opinions. The defendant's motion to continue was denied. The trial court proceeded with sentencing. During the hearing, the trial court noted its review of pre-sentence investigation report, the letter submitted on behalf of the defendant and HL, and transcript text messages exchanged between the defendant and HL's healthcare provider stated that HL had suffered from emotional and psychological problems following the assault. One of the reports referenced HL's statement during therapy that she believed she had become lesbian as a result of the incident with the defendant. The trial court also noted its review of sentencing factors set forth, found the defendant was in need of correctional treatment. It sentenced the defendant served 22 and a half years of hard labor with 2 years to be served without benefit of parole, probation, suspension. On September 26, 2013, the defendant filed a motion to reconsider a sentence, arguing that his near maximum sentence was excessive because he was not the worst kind of offender. He further argued that the trial court did not have basis to conclude that he was likely to commit another crime if not incarcerated. The defendant also complained that he was not permitted to cross-examine HL's healthcare providers. This motion was granted. On October 30th, 2013, the defendant's motion was heard. The trial court accepted a report and resumed from Dr. David into evidence. The doctor opined that HL's statement that she had become a lesbian due to her encounter with the defendant was not supported by the medical literature he had reviewed. He also noted that HL had referenced her girlfriend in text messages with the defendant after the sexual encounter, which might demonstrate that her sexual identity had been in question prior to her therapy, but not necessarily before the incident with the defendant. Wow, it's crazy that they actually go through this. Thankfully, she didn't have to be in the room when they did this, right? But it's like we're talking about a 12-year-old. The trial court found that it incorrectly determined that he would likely commit another crime if not incarcerated and re-sentenced him to 20 years. I like that they gave him two and a half years off. It's like, okay. At least they didn't drop it down to like 6 months. To him, it wouldn't have made a difference those 2 years. And it actually didn't make a difference at all. Looking, it's all just verbiage. He only had to do 2 years. He got paroled after what, 7 years? So let's see, I'm just scanning through it. Again, thank you, Richard, for this info. The record clear the defendant's right regarding the PSI were not violated. Further, trial court did not give any undue weight to the victim's impact letters. Rather, it was based on the defendant's 20-year sentence review. For that ongoing reasons, the defendant's conviction and sentence are affirmed. This is our prince over here. Now, I mean, this is not what he looked like at the time of the crime. This is recent. He is out of prison, but a 6'2", 250-pound man and a 12-year-old little girl. So now to talk about the case. There are certain things, like I get that the family is emotional. He does have a really long sentence. As far as they're concerned, his full term date is 2038 at the time of this hearing in 2021. So there is a lot on the line. We have seen families show up and cry hysterically over these cases when when their relative is getting out in like 1 year, and you're just like, what's with all the dramatics? It's ridiculous. But it also seemed to me like enablers and quite confusing. I don't know. Is this something I don't understand about a certain sect of religion? But to have your 10-year-old and 12-year-old daughters fasting, that sounds like child abuse to me. Are they actually fasting? Are they just skipping snack time, like as part of some? But I was quite shocked to hear that, and that's just kind of disturbing for me. And I don't know what lesson you're teaching your children who are basically the same age. Was the same age. One of them was the same age as the victim. Then Miss Wise goes into the report how he stated that when she asked him what do you have anything to say, and he said that he'd be dead if he wasn't in jail, and he gives the story about the driving and then the guns pointed at him, but not at one time did I hear him in that hearing express remorse, what Miss Wise at least related. At all. It was just quite, yeah, he is set up. He gets $5K, a trailer, and a boat as soon as he gets out. That's not a bad deal, is it? Really, all I heard was everyone like blaming everyone else but himself. He's such a good guy. He made, and what he ended up serving, on his 20-year sentence, he ended up serving, so he got out in 2021, and this was, so I guess 7 years about. Oh, also they were saying that, and he said, I don't think the victim even wants me in prison, yet everything we've seen certainly didn't seem that way. But anyways, I mean, what do you think of the style hearings of doing the review only? It's something I'll never understand. 21-year-olds doing this to 12-year-olds. It's just, and the idea that then he's going to go spend time in church, and like Miss Wise said, that's not a great situation for you to be in. Yeah, but okay, you tell me. Do you think you should have served all 20 years? Well, he's still out and out of trouble for now, or at least he hasn't gotten caught. But with that, I'll let you go.
You're classified as a first offender. Your offenses are carnal knowledge of the juvenile, possession of tramadol, possession of clonazepam. Your parole date is 4/28/2021. Your good time date is not eligible, and your full term date is 4/28/2023. Is this information correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Ms. Parole?
Good morning.
Good morning.
How's it going?
I'm doing okay.
What do you do every day in the prison?
I was taking classes. I do a lot of coloring because I'm not a reader. I can't get into a book with a lot of noise and stuff. So I do word searches and I color a lot.
Oh, okay. So, okay. So you guys are, you're not out here. You said you were doing programs. What happened?
I finished a few of them.
Okay. What did you finish?
I did anger management, parenting, and right now I am in Cage Your Rage.
Good. Okay, good. All righty. Tell me, have you had the opportunity to take any kind of sex offender treatment classes?
No, ma'am, not here.
Okay. Not there? Okay. No. Is that something you think you need?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
I was going to, it was some type of class with my probation officer that I was about to start before this last arrest.
Oh, okay then. Okay.
We had it all set up, but I got arrested.
Okay. So what was the age of your victim, your sex offense victim?
17.
Okay. All right. How long had y'all been in a relationship?
Probably about 2 months.
Oh, okay. Okay. You were revoked due to the possession of meth.
Yes, ma'am.
You started using? Were you using or dealing?
I was using.
Okay. How long that been going on?
Ever since I got out of jail from what happened since then. So for about a year and a half.
Okay. All right. All right. And you're the mother of 2 children, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Who has those children?
My oldest son is with his father, and my youngest son is with the father's grandmother.
Okay. All right. Has the children been taken from you
Yes.
legally? Okay. All right. What's your plans in that area? What's your thought?
Taking all the classes and doing everything I have to do to get them back.
How old are they?
11 and 4.
1 and 4. Okay. But I'm just gonna put this out there, and you can decide if they're doing well where they are. You know, they are where they are, and you just take care of you. You know. I do want to inform you, as a part of this process, we get opinions from victims and law enforcement as to early release. And all law enforcement is opposed to your early release. And the victim's family is opposed. Let me double check it, but I think the victim's family is opposed as well. Like I said, there's nothing you can do about it, but I just want you to be aware that that's information that we have to consider. No, let me correct. The victim's family had no comment. They really didn't oppose, or they just had no comment. That's all I had. Thank you for answering my questions.
You're welcome.
Mr. Marabello?
Thank you, Ms. Teresa. Ms. Oliver, is that how do you pronounce your last name?
Olivier.
Olivier. Okay. So there's I guess there's an IER at the end of that. Okay. Thank you. Ms. Olivier, Ms. Wise has covered a lot of things, but you have some pending charges in Acadia Parish. You have a trial set, at least my notes reflect you have a trial set for May the 24th on charges of possession, 2 counts of possession of methamphetamines and unlawful use of social media. What's the status of that trial? Is it still set to go?
I had no idea what date first one. Yeah.
Do you have a public defender representing you?
Yes, sir.
Have you discussed with the public defender your defenses, your charges, or anything else?
No, sir. I just recently got legal mail telling me who he was, but I hadn't even got a chance to contact him yet, but there was no set court date.
Okay, you went to court in August of 2020 and pled not guilty. Is that right? You remember that? Did they give you a new date back then? Some parishes, they do things differently. Some parishes set a trial date at the arraignment. They may have set that trial date at that, but you don't know anything about those charges.
No, I do know about the charges.
We don't know. I'm talking about the trial date.
No, I didn't know about the trial date.
Okay. Okay, that's all I've got. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay, there are no further questions. Can we please have the offender make a brief statement?
There is no excuses for my charges. I thought that I was a great mom. I had my children, Kylan and Corson, living with me in my own home. I started using drugs and soon found myself doing things that I never should have done. Child services came in and I lost custody of my kids. Finding myself with nothing else to lose, I ended up with these charges and in jail. I am not proud of my behavior back then, but I have been rehabilitated along with substance abuse and parenting classes that helped me to search within myself. I would like to thank you all for this opportunity to meet with you. I hope that I am given a chance to be released so that I can finally be a productive member to society and a mom to my boys that need and deserve me.
All right, thank you. Can we hear from the warden? Can you tell us how she's been doing? I forgot to ask when I was doing the interview, warden, any staff there. Does she have any write-ups or anything?
Hey, ma'am, she's been a role model inmate since she's been here. We've had no problems out of her. She gets up, she does what she's supposed to do, cleans her area. No problems at all out of McKenzie.
Good, good. That's good to hear. Good to hear. All right, thank you. Thank you. All right, your case was assigned to me, McKenzie, and I'll go ahead and vote. I'm glad to hear all the positive things that the warden had to say. So I'm glad to hear that you're doing some right things. You keep doing more and more right things, and you'll start seeing your life turn around. But today, I am just not willing to take a chance on you. My vote is to deny. I think you need a sex offender treatment program, and you could benefit from more programs. You have a very poor supervision history, and you have law enforcement opposition. For those reasons, my vote is to deny. And if you get opportunity, write back for a rehearing. But I encourage you to try to get into the sex offender treatment program. Good luck to you. Mr. Marabella?
Ms. Olivier, I agree with Ms. Wise. I think you need some more programs. I do believe it concerns me a little bit that you say you don't need sex offender treatment. I mean, you do. You pled guilty or were convicted of carnal knowledge of a juvenile. It doesn't sound like it was a young minor, but it was a 17-year-old person. You were in your 30s. That's a real issue. So you need to do that. You also need some drug treatment. And you've got this hold on you. I don't know when you're going to be able to get out. So it's likely you're going to find yourself in prison for a while until you resolve these other cases. Take advantage of the time you're there. Take some programs, do some things to better yourself. And once you do those things, reapply, and it's likely we will or whatever panel it might be, would reconsider this. So my vote today is to deny, but encourage you to take as much things as you can do. You got a great record from the warden. The warden suggested you're a model prisoner. That's wonderful. But outside is not the same as being in prison. You got structure when you're in prison. You don't have that when you're outside. So good luck to you, ma'am.
Mr. Wise?
Okay, y'all. At this time, I'm gonna vote to deny. Same as Ms. Pearl Wise. You need to follow up on some sexual offenders program. Also, programs of any kind that you can get involved in. You have a strong law enforcement opposition to your release. Thank you. I've already voted. Ms.
Yes, sir.
Pearl.
Thank you. All right, young lady. Take this no as a yes for you to spend some time, working on yourself. So your vote, you've been denied today. I want to thank the staff for you all accommodating us today. We appreciate you.
Yes, ma'am.
We'll show ourselves as adjourned at 10:27 a.m.
I really don't have much to add here. There's a couple of articles. There's something Richard found in April 2019 where it says that she was arrested while she left two of her young children in the home, ages 5 and 2. And when the police came around midnight to see those kids home alone, there were narcotics just lying all over the place, open and exposed, which of course is incredibly dangerous. And, so she was arrested for that. And of course, you have the thing where he's 17, and I didn't know that was illegal. I thought 17 is the age of consent. So I'm a little confused about that. It's like every day I feel like I have to learn something new when it comes to what they consider. It's confusing. But I'm surprised Mr. Marabella didn't go down the whole rabbit hole of addiction with her and AA and all those things. I mean, it just seems that she's just complete, mess. And they're just like, oh no, we deny. Okay, yeah, law enforcement at this time. Sorry, I can't stand the hearings when you have both the wises together. It's like nails on a chalkboard for me. It really gets my blood pressure up. I don't like doing them. But at this time, I'll let you go.
Okay. My name is Joe Townsend.
You hear me, Mr. Townsend? I see you were on mute, but could you hear me?
Yes, sir, I could hear you.
Okay. Give us your full name and DOC number. Thank you.
Joe M. Townsend. DOC number is 317656.
Thank you very much, sir. Mr. Townsend, let me explain our process to you. First, I'm going to read some information into the record. Then we're going to conduct a parole interview with you. Then we're going to ask the warden and staff there to give us any comments if they have any comments to make. Then anyone who wishes to speak on your behalf will have an opportunity to speak. A friend of yours and a mentor, Mr. Christopher. Mr. Christopher, I'm afraid I'm having trouble pronouncing your last name. I'm going to say Lecky, but I'm not sure how you pronounce it. But I'll get you to say it when it's your turn to talk. And then after we hear Mr. Christopher speak, you'll have an opportunity to say whatever you'd like to say to the board, and then we'll vote. You understand our process?
Yes, sir.
Okay. This is a matter of Joe M. Townsend, DOC number 317656, date of birth June the 3rd of 1973. He's a third-class felony offender. He has an adjusted good time date of August the 12th of 2031, a full term date of February the 1st of 2033. He is currently serving a 21-year sentence on the charges of manslaughter, possession of 2 counts of possession of methamphetamines, and simple burglary of an inhabited dwelling after having been adjudicated a habitual offender. Mr. Townsend, is that information basically correct?
Yes, sir. I mean, I'm serving time now on a simple burglary charge and possession of methamphetamines. The manslaughter charge is something that I had served time. I was given a 21-year sentence on. I served 10 and a half years on. I had the remainder on parole, and that's it.
Mr. Townsend, your case has been assigned to Ms. Pearl Wise. She will begin our questioning. Would you answer any questions she would have? Ms. Wise?
Good morning, Mr. Townsend.
Good morning, ma'am.
How you doing?
I'm nervous,
Okay.
but I'm doing all right.
It's your first hearing?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, and we're just gonna talk about you. That's all we're here to do is talk about you. Call out for the record, sir, how old you are today.
I'm 50 years old.
Yes, indeed. This was your year. And how long have you served on this sentence?
12 years.
And as a third offender, out of your 50 years of living, how long would you say you've been in jail?
Probably half of it.
25 years total.
Yeah, close to it.
Okay. How much education do you have?
I graduated high school.
What year? What year?
I graduated high school in 1990.
Class of 1990?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Any other education after that?
Well, I was in the union, electrical union, working as an apprenticeship program. And that's it. I mean, I've worked in maintenance pretty much done electrical work pretty much my adult life.
Oh, that's a good trade. It's a very, very good trade. I see that you're divorced and you have 3 children. What do you remember? What year did you get married?
I got married in 2004. I have 1 child that's mine. I married the woman that I was married to. She had 2 from a previous relationship, and of course I inherited them as well.
Yes, sir. That's good. And so how old is your child?
She's 20 years old today.
Oh, well, happy birthday to her. I'm sure. What kind of relationship do you have with your daughter?
Well, I left her when she was 9 years old, so of course she's a little mad at me for it. But I mean, we have a great relationship. I mean, I'm looking forward to having one with her. I know that she needs me, and I need her.
Yes, sir. Are you a grandfather?
No, sir, no, ma'am, not yet.
Not yet, okay. I share your pain with that. I saw in the record you had some hospital stays in January and February of 23. Are you okay?
Yes, ma'am, I am now.
You are? So what do you do every day at the prison?
I work in maintenance.
Oh, good.
Work.
Good, good. When I look at your record, I do want you to know you have law enforcement opposition against your early release. There's nothing you can do about it, but that's a part of our process. We get the DA, the judge, and the sheriff's and the PD's opinion about early release, and you have opposition across the board. All of them are opposed to it. And when I look at your supervision record, I call your supervision record a poor supervision record. So what's going on with supervision?
I'm not sure I really understand. I mean,
okay, when you were out and you was on parole or probation, you didn't do well. You got revoked. When I read it, I said that's poor supervision, which means you just didn't. Yeah. So what would be different this time? If you get out today, how would you do on supervision?
I'm gonna do great. I'm 50 years old, man. I don't have any more opportunities. And as we just talked about with my daughter, you know, I still have my mother that's still living. She's over 70 years old. She's actually been the one who's raised my daughter. My daughter's mother's no longer around. I need to be there for both of them. Again, I'm 50. I know I don't have any more chances. If I do something,
yes, sir.
If something happens,
go ahead.
Yeah, I don't have any more opportunities. If I come back to prison, it's over with. So if I'm given opportunity,
let me stop you right there. Let me finish my interview because we got other people we need to talk to as well today. Yes, and I'm glad that you've convinced yourself of that. I am glad that you've convinced yourself of that. So if you were successful today, where would you live and how would you support yourself?
I would be trying to go to a place that's providing shelter for me. I have my friend here, Christopher Lisi, who's going to give me a job doing air conditioning, refrigeration, electrical work.
Okay. And now you're gonna try to get like a halfway house or something like that. Is that what I'm hearing you say?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
And also, the probation parole reached out to try to locate the victim of your offenses, and there was no response from the simple burglary. So we don't have the victim's input today about wanting your early release or not. Let's talk about your write-ups for intoxication. From 2020 to 2022, you had 7 write-ups for intoxication. Tell us about those. What's going on?
What's going on is me not wanting to face reality, me not wanting to be trying to, I guess, get intoxicated, to just not want to have to just not deal with it, not face it. But that's not an option. I mean, it's still, those problems are going to be here. Those problems I'm going to have to deal with. I need to learn to deal with them, make better decisions dealing with them. When you're on drugs, after you've gotten off drugs for a while, things start clearing up, you think better, make better decisions. I know that, and that's what I'm doing now. During that time, I wasn't making good decisions. I didn't want to be faced with them. And that's where the drugs and the intoxications come from.
All right, all right. Now, see, you gave yourself the pep talk that I was gonna give you. That's right. So you got some good self-talk here. You just got to start listening to yourself. And when I look at your history, in 2006, you went through Blue Waters. Did you complete that substance abuse program?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
How long did you stay sober after that?
Probably around 2, maybe 1 or 2 years, somewhere around there.
Mhm. And what were your drug of choice?
Methamphetamines.
In 2006 as well?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, have you heard of the STAR program?
No, ma'am.
Let me ask you these questions. Were you using heroin or painkillers or opioids prior to your incarceration?
No, ma'am.
What was your drug of, you said meth. Okay, so you don't qualify for that. Okay, no. Would you be interested in a long-term substance abuse treatment program?
Yes, ma'am, I would be.
You think you need it?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, that's all I had. Thank you for answering my questions. Warden, what you want? Go ahead.
Ms. Wise, before we speak to the warden, Mr. Leakey, I can't see you anymore on the screen. You're kind of small, but it looks like you're driving. We're going to have to ask you to pull over, find a safe place to pull over so you can talk to us in a few minutes, okay? I'm sorry, Ms. Wise. Warden, would you give us whatever comments you feel appropriate, or Mr. Townsend?
Yes, sir. The only thing that I would add is I agree. Him and I spoke in length about his substance abuse issue, and all his issues stem from substance abuse. And he's been trying to kick it. He's been in programs, and he's just he's had a lot of relapse, as you pointed out, with the intoxications. And I agree. I think he needs some long-term substance abuse.
And because Warden, with his medical situation, do you think he would have a problem getting in? What do you think?
I'll have to talk with medical, but what was your?
It's over. It was a virus type deal.
Yeah, I think he'll be okay.
Okay then. Okay. All right.
He's
Good.
on duty. He's still working, so medical hasn't restricted him from that. So I think he'll be fine.
All right. Thank you, sir. All right.
Thank you, Ms. Wise.
That's all I have.
Mr. Leakey, are you there? Have you pulled over? Be able to talk with us? Is he no longer connected?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Mr. Leakey?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. We can hear you. Thank you very much.
All right. Yeah, I'm pulled over. I got someone else driving for me now. So
okay.
Anyway, my name is Christopher Lease. I met Joe, I guess, probably around 4 years ago, somewhere around there, when he got transferred from David Wade to Elaine Hunt. I was a mentor on the RDAP tier, the Residential Drug Abusement Program tier. So I've seen Joe at his best, and I've seen Joe at his worst as well. I know he tries and he strives to get where he wants to be, and sometimes it's just not enough. I'm here to say that, I'm very much in support of his release. And if he is released, I know he was looking at a place somewhere around Opelousas or Lafayette, maybe a treatment center or a sober living house, which I think would be great for him. I'm sort of over that way, in between Lafayette and Lake Charles. I would definitely be there to support him in his transition into the free world, his recovery, and continued sobriety. I have some friends that own a sober living house out in Opelousas, as well as a treatment center in Baton Rouge called Elevate Treatment and Legacy Center, that I could definitely pull some strings and get him into any of those if he were to be willing, or if we would see that as an option. So yeah, I'm definitely here for his support him in his journey whenever he makes it home. I'm a fourth offender as well. I'm off parole and everything, and I served 10 years. And I was also very poor on supervision, a habitual recidivator, I guess, if that would be a word. But if anything's proof that someone can go and turn themselves around, I am. And I know that with him being as hard of a worker as he is, and also with him having a skilled trade as an electrician, I'm definitely going to use him every chance I get, and he'll definitely have a job with me whenever he gets home. So, I think as long as we keep him busy, keep him focused, have him working the 12 steps, and, doing anything and everything that's conducive to his recovery, he'll be all right.
Good.
But that's all I got.
Good. Thank you, Mr. Leak, and congratulations to you. You've worked very hard, obviously, and you're doing well. So keep up the good work.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Townsend, is there anything else you'd like to say before the board votes?
I'd just like to say, for one, I appreciate the opportunity today. And I will make the best of it if given an opportunity to go home. I do have some support, as you can see. And I have people that understand me a little bit better than what I've been through. So that's gonna always help too. Sometimes those people are the type of people that you need around you. That that's been through something that you've been through and you can kind of relate to. I'm more mature, my attitude's changed now. Whatever y'all decide, thank y'all.
Thank you very much, Mr. Townsend. Is the panel ready to vote?
Yes, I'm ready to go. But Mr. Townsend, you changed my mind today. When I read your file last night, I had no idea I'll be saying this. You better make sure you appreciate your mentor, because he brought it home today. He really brought it for me. I'm just speaking for me. My vote is to grant because of your age and because of the need for long-term substance abuse treatment. So my vote is to grant to a long-term substance abuse treatment program, and that you are to follow that program's recommendations after you complete it. I want you to sit on the front row, stay on the front row. Every time you go to the class, you sit on the front row. You be looking straight at the instructor. That's the only person you're there for. And as a part of your conditions, I want you to cooperate with your mentor, Christopher Lusser. Cooperate with your mentor. Stay in touch with him. Don't blow him off when you get out. Stay in touch with him. And I want you to report weekly to probation parole for the first 3 months to kind of get lined out.
Yes, ma'am.
And I'm sure that's good. And also I want you to enroll in general counseling about 6 months after you get out. Find somebody to talk to. Talk with your parole officer and get involved in general counseling to kind of help you process a lot of things. Because I don't want you to hurt your daughter again. That's wishes to you, sir.
Thank you. Ms. Wise, just to clarify, is that a conditional grant, DOC long-term?
Yes, sir.
Treatment?
That's correct, Jim.
Mr. Roche?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Townsend, I'm going to come right up front. I can't vote for you today. Your general disciplinary conduct is totally unacceptable. You've had 17 write-ups between a period of 2017 and 2022. Most of those write-ups were intoxication write-ups, contraband write-ups, aggravated disobedience. I cannot vote. You do need substance abuse, but you need to get your disciplinary conduct in line with the OC policy. You have law enforcement opposition. The DA's office is strongly opposed. The judge is opposed. And we rarely hear from judges, but this judge submitted a statement saying he's opposed to your release and you have poor supervision in history. For all those reasons, I deny your request.
Thank you, Mr. Roche. Mr. Townsend, as I sit here and look at you, I understand Mr. Roche's concerns. I've listened to Mr. Lee as he talked about what he's been able to accomplish, the fact that he's going to work with you, he's going to try to help you. I do think you need long-term treatment. And I think that perhaps a conditional grant You go to that long-term treatment, you do a good job in that long-term treatment, you finish that program within 9 months, you'll be able to get out and you'll do the things you're supposed to do. So my vote likewise would be to grant conditionally upon your completing the long-term substance abuse treatment facility, and the same conditions as outlined as Ms. Wise. Now, do you have your GED? You have a high school diploma? Have you done 100 hours
Yes,
of
sir.
pre-release?
Yes, sir, I have.
100 hours of pre-release?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you're low risk. So does he qualify for 2 out of 3?
Well, our information say he does not.
Okay.
He has not completed pre-release. He's checked with the warden.
Warden, do you know if he's completed pre-release?
No, sir, he needs it.
He has not completed pre-release.
Fox 7, he went through Fox 7 when I first came, 2019. I have a certificate in my file.
According to our documents, warden, he has not completed it.
But because of the write-ups, he probably didn't go. Because he didn't even put his in there because he keep on write-ups.
He may have been in near completion when he got locked up, but I don't see where he completed it either. Well,
Okay. Mr. Townsen, you require unanimous vote since you didn't complete pre-release. So today your parole has been denied, but we all encourage you to try to get into a long-term drug treatment program. And then once you finish that program, reapply, and perhaps you'll get a different result. But you also need to take pre-release while you can, if you can. So good luck to you, sir. Are we done?
Yes.
Are we done?
Yes.
Warden, thank you very much for your help and your whole staff, and we'll be adjourned at 10:19.
thank you.
Well, I cut it off before the end there, but the warden was caught on a kind of like a hot mic telling him we'll get you into a long-term substance abuse program. So that means he'll spend 9 months in the program. Assuming he passes it and doesn't get any write-ups, he can reapply, and it's going to be a different board because the whole board's switching out next year. Maybe they'll feel the same way. I was kind of surprised how lenient, I guess, Miss Wise was in some ways. I mean, remember he had taken a life, served just 10 years on was it a 30-year sentence? Gets out and then gets locked back up. And then he had all those write-ups and narcotic write-ups, and you're just like, this guy's not ready yet. Then on the flip side, you can say, well, maybe he is ready because of his mentor, who started off the call driving on a video call, looking down, looks like he's driving a truck. And I gotta tell you, that is a bad look. I mean, could you imagine showing up as the mentor, as the only person representing the person you're with at a parole hearing, and you're not just taking there's one thing, you want to take a call where a headset, like, but you're looking down and up and down and up. And I was getting anxious seeing that. He's clearly driving a truck. You don't look at your, like, what was that? And it seems that, when he took the conversation, he moved to the passenger seat. He even had a driver. He could have had someone drive. And am I being like really over critical for that? I don't know. For me, it just seems like a big giant red flag. It's dangerous to do that. This is not, statistically, there's so many accidents happen because of distracted driving, and you're supposed to be the mentor. But maybe I'm being really too hard. He has done quite amazing things after getting through prison and being now out for 10 years and having his head on straight. And, so driving aside, but the bottom line is he's this hearing took place November of 2023. But when he does come back, if he comes back in a year from now or so, we'll do the hearing for you. It's on the playlist of their back or multiple hearings. But
The staff there, how you've been doing, and get a little comments from them. Then you'll have an opportunity to say whatever you'd like to say to the board. Then we'll vote. You understand our process?
Yes, sir.
Okay. This is the matter of Richard E. Hill, DOC number 127650. Mr. Hill's date of birth is December the 10th of 1962. He's a fourth class offender. He has an adjusted good time date of September the 4th of 2026, a parole eligibility date of August the 1st of 2021, a full term date of March the 3rd of 2027. He is serving a 30-year sentence on the charge of 3 counts of first-degree robbery, having been sentenced on 12/17 of 1998. Is that information basically correct, Mr. Hill?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Hill, your case has been assigned to me, so I will go ahead and begin the interview process, okay? Mr. Hill, on May the 12th of 22 last year, you were granted a conditional release upon completing Steve Hoyle or a long-term drug treatment facility. Have you been able to complete that program?
February 24th.
You finished on February? You finished February 24th of this year?
No, he finished this year, February.
In February 23. Okay.
That's right.
Okay.
You don't realize
We were adding an extra year on you. Okay. So you know. Okay. Tell me a little bit briefly. Tell me what sort of things you learned there that you're going to be able to put in place when you get out. How you going to stay sober when you get out?
Sir, I've been clean and sober for 26 years.
I know you have, but you went
Okay,
to
sir.
Steve Hall. We sent you there for a reason. We wanted you to really understand your disease and how you're going to be able to keep yourself straight. So what sort of things did you learn there?
Well, the company that you keep and being watching your surroundings. Okay, being proud of being at Winfield, correct, CCA Win in Winfield. Well, I was over there from June 8th of 2003, and not being in a facility where some people smoke cigarettes and dip, and being able to just make the decision of my own, not even indulge in that. Not only that, I was taking a drug screen from 2005 until being released from parole over there. So I took a drug screen every month.
Well, let me ask you, where are you going to go if you get out?
I don't have nobody in Louisiana. My baby brother is in Dallas, Texas.
Okay.
And being that he is, I go in and go there. And well, there's nothing wrong with my license, but there's five. I'm a truck driver by trade. Not only that, I can do a lot of things. And I've learned in the past time, and by the grace of God, ain't had no one but God to see me through this. I mean, I haven't seen my family since 97.
What can you tell us about his progress in the treatment program and where he's going to go stay?
It was nice going to Steve Hall.
Okay. We'll let you talk again in a minute.
His disciplinary record is great. His interstate compact has already been approved, but his parole grant expired. So that's why we're back here today. So, but the interstate compact has been approved. He's going to live with his brother in Texas.
Okay. I think we've got everything. Is there anything you'd like to tell us, Mr. Hill? Before we vote, I think you're winning.
Sir?
I think you're winning.
Well, I'm grateful. I've learned my lesson. And at my age, I quit. I throw my hands up. Because at this age, my life, we're gambling. I'm not gambling.
If you go back to that lifestyle, you won't live very long.
Go back. Listen, gang. My daughter was 14 months when I left the street. I haven't seen her in 26 years. Nobody in my family, no one, no visits. I've learned my lesson. The gambling, I don't even want that. Gambling ain't even part of it. I am so grateful. I've seen them drop dead in the system. God spared my life. My appendix bust on me June the 21st, August the 21st of 2007. They had to rush me to Here It Belong in Alexandria. I don't even know how to get to Alexandria. I come to Louisiana in 94, got married after I got my diesel driving academy in 95, had a child in 96, come to jail in 97. I ain't seen nobody in my family since. But I'm grateful because they don't owe me nothing. I made my bed, I laid in it. God didn't deliver me.
Mr. Hill, thank you very much. I think the panel's ready to vote. Mr. Hill, you're 61 years old. I'm here to tell you that's young. So you got a lot of life left to live. You've done everything we've asked you to do. You've gone through the treatment program. You've completed that treatment program successfully. Your disciplinary record is very good. You've got an ICOTS to Texas. You're all signed up to go. So my vote today would be to grant your parole to the ICOTS to Texas with the following conditions: that you follow all of the recommendations that were given to you by Steve Hoyle, including 3 AA meetings per week. That could be virtually. You can do it on Zoom or you can do it live. Doesn't matter, as long as you do your 3 AA meetings per week. Okay, I'm just one vote, but that's my vote. Mr. Roche?
My vote is the same. I like to add one condition, that you have a curfew from 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. Good luck, Mr. Hill.
It's a pleasure meeting you, but Mr. Hill, let me tell you something. When this man told you you were winning, that meant be quiet.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, that meant be quiet. You want to tell your story and stuff, but when you're winning, you just get quiet and just let the wind come. I just wish you well. I just see a bright future ahead for you. Best wishes to you. My vote is Grant, and I concur with the conditions set forth. Best wishes to you, sir.
Mr. Hill, I know you're looking forward to seeing your family again, so good luck to you.
Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Thank y'all. God bless.
Thank you very much for your help. We'll be
you.
adjourned at 12:10.
Okay. Have a good day. You heard what
I'm happy he spoke. Miss Wise might have given good advice. Don't speak when you're winning. But I like the speech that he gave. For someone who just spent all those years in prison for what I have here as first-degree robbery, that was his crime. And for him to be so grateful to get out. Now, as soon as they said that they had an ICOTS to Texas, I knew they were going to grant. They loved when they can go to Texas. And I think they were going to grant anyways, even though I don't think he got out of Steve Hoyle what they wanted him to get out of Steve Hoyle, right? But man, I sure hope we don't see him back. And I think that we won't. I think that he is tired. And, you can get revoked for doing something, silly. But, for not paying your dues or not registering at the office. And those can be things where you see certain inmates mess up on, but hopefully he doesn't. And it's sad when you hear he had no family visits. You might think no cards. You might think, imagine being that alone, that lonely for all those years. But I actually really enjoyed his little speech, and I'm happy he made it. And I even saw laughs out of the board, including Mr. O'Shea, which is not an everyday occurrence. So sometimes it's nice to have a positive hearing like this. We need it. And with that, I'll let you go.